Before we start, I want you to tell me in the comment section what is one area of your life that you're learning to be more intentional or that you have become more intentional in. I'll be reading them after this video. You know how everyone talks about wanting peace in their marriage? In fact, who doesn't want a peaceful marriage? I believe everyone wants a peaceful home, right? But one thing nobody tells you is that peace does not just happen. I'll tell you why. There was a time when the smallest things would get to me, be it a comment or a tone, or maybe we have an unfinished goal or task. But one thing I've come to realize is that you don't stumble into a peaceful home, you build it, one intentional choice at a time. For me, that one habit of being intentional literally saved our peace. I'll be talking about it in a nutshell before today, sorry, but it's not just in my marriage, but my mindset was also affected, my parenting, and even my work with God. So, peace is not just in the big ways, but in the small choices that change the atmosphere wherever you are. Today, I want to share the different ways I've been learning to be intentional and how it has quietly changed so much for me. So, grab your tea, sit with me, and let's talk real life, real love. There was a season I used to think that being intentional or having a peaceful environment meant that there'll be no argument. Like, if we're not fighting, then we're fine. But then I've come to understand that silence doesn't also always mean peace. Peace doesn't always mean that nothing ever upsets me. It means rather that I have chosen not to let every irritation become a war. I remember one certain Sunday morning, we were running late for church. Everything was chaos. The pot on the fire. I was trying to boil water and some other things. My kids crying, me trying to get dressed. And then my husband just said something that literally didn't sit quite well. And instantly, the atmosphere surrounding me changed. You know what I mean? But then it wasn't just about what he said, it was also about how I responded to what he said. You know, when something pokes your peace in a little way and then you're all over the place. So at that moment, I paused and I learned that the way you choose to react when your emotion rises is intentional. It matters a lot. I came back from service that day and I sat myself down and I asked myself, IJ, are you building or are you reacting? Peace is built one intentional choice at a time. So that day, I made a decision to be more intentional. Maybe not perfect at the end, but then my intentionality was in a lot of places, in the simple places like eating and making sure that my phone is turned off, making eye to eye contact conversation, ensuring that I have moments where we laugh together. So for me, being intentional starts small. It's not always about doing more, but it starts with being aware, first of all. The first intentional thing, intentional with your words. I realized I couldn't keep assuming that love unspoken was love understood. So I started saying the small things out loud. Thank you, sweet. I really appreciate how you handled that. Men also want to be appreciated too. It may feel awkward for you at first, but sometimes we should stop assuming that people know that what we did, that we like what they did for us. We need to say thank you. Intentional love speaks. Some moments when it's not convenient for me, I ensure that I connect with what is happening in his life. I ask about the ongoing projects. And funny enough, the more I ask such questions, the more I say thank you, the softer the atmosphere in our home became. Number two, intentional listening. Yes, you also have to be intentional about listening, not to reply, but to understand. Sometimes my husband would talk, and halfway through, I already have my comeback prepared. But being intentional, change all of that. My mind at that moment is already loading for my defense and my comeback. But then, peace, intentional peace means that I have to start person. I have to listen to understand. I have to let him finish. You know, it started saving us unnecessary arguments. Number three, intentional boundaries. I learned to set emotional boundaries, not emotional walls. There's a difference. That created a balance. I created small moments for myself to breathe. Sometimes I would wake up earlier to have quiet time before everyone else. Not to avoid anyone, but to refuel myself, because you know why? Peace can't flow through you if you're empty. So being intentional with my mindset, I learned to focus on what was wrong. I think this should be number three, now not number four. Because I actually had a doctorate in focusing on what was wrong, what was done in the past, what was done 2 years ago. But I've learned to focus on what's working. When there is tension, I focus on what is working. I draw a list of things that I'm thankful for and I begin to thank God. Gratitude does not erase problems, but it gives you perspective. Peace is never about perfection, it's about perspective. So you need to have the right perspective. And that is what gratitude does for you. That is what gratitude does for you. It gives you the right perspective. It helps you to become more self aware. That is another point. Yes, becoming more self aware intentionally. So it's not even about the other person, it's something I need to heal from. When you're more self aware, your mind opens you up to the things that you need to heal from. It's not that you're blaming yourself, but you begin to understand yourself more, and then you give yourself room to grow. And whatever that triggers you, God pulls you through a process to teach you through it. That is what being intentional helps you. Another one is intentional with your prayers. You know, most times when things happen, God will help you to show up right. That's a prayer I used to say myself. I say, God, help me to show up right. So, because you're intentional in prayer, you stop trying to control people. You start letting God walk in both of you. Without God guiding your reactions, intentional living will turn into self help instead of transformation. Prayers have helped me stay connected to God. And it constantly reminds me that the peace is a fruit of the Spirit. It's not a feeling, but it's a way of being, it's a way of becoming. And it's the Holy Spirit that does that. So being intentional has taught me that love doesn't grow by chance, peace doesn't stay by accident, joy doesn't last by default. Everything meaningful in your life grows because you chose it. Sometimes being intentional means pausing before you react. Sometimes it's choosing appreciation over complaint. Sometimes it's saying thank you, even when nobody notices your effort. But every time you choose it, what you're saying is you value peace more than pride. And that is where growth begins. Being intentional makes you self aware. And the most beautiful thing is that when you cling to God, because He gives you the peace that passes all understanding. So maybe this week, I want you to choose to be more intentional with your words, be more intentional in your gratitude, in how you show up for the people that you love. You'll be amazed at how much peace that simple habit brings back into your life, into your home, into your environment. Because peace doesn't just happen, you build it one intentional choice at a time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If this spoke to you, don't forget to like, share, or comment what being intentional means to you. I'd love to hear your thoughts. See you in the next one. With love, IG.